Please listen carefully.
Well, hello, universe, and welcome to the Optimist Daily Update. I'm Kristy Jansen.
And I'm Summers Kristy.
And we're part of the team behind the Optimist Daily, making solutions the news. We bring you reader-funded solutions news every day in order to change the tenor of news media, social media, and the direction of your day to one focused on solutions.
7 days a week, we publish positive news stories written by award-winning journalists and delivered online to your inbox and through our social channels. And also, we are sharing these solutions in a commute-worthy, walk-worthy, home office-worthy, RV-worthy podcast. Today is Friday, the 8th of January, 2021. Well, Kristy,
yep.
How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. I'm hanging in there. I'm rocking my socially isolated household right now. Watching the news a little too much, probably, and trying to keep my center. How about you? How are you? How is the driving? You were on the road the last few days. How is Texas?
We were. Texas, exactly. So I will say it was a very, very strange time to be offline because largely we were offline. We actually left California early in the morning on Wednesday. I don't even know what day of the week it is right now, except that I just read it. But we left California super early Wednesday morning and more or less drove all the way to Texas with just one about 4.5 hour stop for my husband to sleep. He is kind of a machine when it comes to driving, and he just wanted to get us here. So being in a relatively loud RV, because this is a lovely place to be, but it is not quiet, for about 30 hours was intense. And then it was also intense because of what was happening in the world and not being able to fully access it and not being able to really get the news or get understanding, stream sufficient information to understand what was happening. And then, as many of you know, my husband and I have different political perspectives. And so we are also fed and served different political information on our social media. So we were getting very disparate references. So it was a really strange time to be away. Kristy and I were trying to connect. I wanted to be on the podcast yesterday. Fortunately, you guys were able to handle it, beautifully without me, but it has been really extreme, I think is what I would say. Now we're here and we're safe in Texas and it's beautiful and we have this lovely RV and a little cabin next to where our RV is parked. So the kids and everybody are safe and socially distant and we will not be exposed in any way to COVID. But I do not feel centered. So turning back to the Optimist Daily today was such a gift because you guys had some great stories that were here that helped me feel a little more centered. But I know at the Optimist Daily editorial, you guys had some pretty intense conversations yesterday about what's going on with the world.
Yeah, and how can we do our part in spreading the positive contagion in a time that feels frightening and disconnected and challenging. And I think what we have come up with is we don't want to shy away from what's happening, but the best way we can serve our audience, I think, is to really focus on how we can each show compassion and kindness to ourselves and the people who are closest to us in these challenging times. And it's challenging in many ways. And I don't think it's any surprise that this political insurrection is happening at a time when the entire country is being rocked by a pandemic. In preparing for this week's View, I was looking at an article we published back in 2018 about how being socially isolated can literally break your heart. And I really feel like all of us who are, whether we're really locked down or not totally locked down, our lives have really been changed in this last year. All of our regular routines are interrupted for every single person in this world, in this country especially. And it's right now it's even getting worse. And now it's wintertime, which also leads to stress and anxiety and being cooped up, and interpersonal relationships are fraying. Our health routines may be going out the window. I don't know.
You mean the COVID 40 of it's not the freshman 15, it's the COVID 40 for some of us.
So how can we be our own best friends so that we can actually show up for our loved ones, our friends, our communities, and the world in a positive way. And I think that's how we wanted to address it. So like today's lead story, which is the one that I wanted to talk about, talks about 5 evidence-backed ways to feel happier even in hard times. Because when it comes down to it, yes, we may be looking forward, hoping that this year is going to be better than last year, but right now we're still in the midst of it, right? It's not like it's different at all at this moment. And all we have is today, really, when that's where we are. But there are ways that we can use that to just get centered in ourselves and in the moment. And that really goes a long way. So this article talks about coming into the now to deal with stress, anxiety, and depression. Just having a bit of centering, breathing, coming into the moment, and realizing that all of the rest of it is the stories we're telling to ourselves about what might happen, what did happen, what could happen, and the anxiety and the distress that can get ratcheted up if our minds are going in those directions. When if you just think about it, you're sitting here, you're in your body, you have the moment, unless you're really, really ill, you're probably feeling okay, right? And if you're not, then you're not, but wherever you are is where you are. And you are in the place you are, even if tomorrow you might lose your house, today you're in it. Right? And so just worry about the moment and just keep breathing. And so that's one. And I think
that's step one. Exactly.
One.
Yeah.
But then being in nature can really bring you back to peace. And if you can't get outside, then see what you can do to bring it inside. I mean, I'm a big fan of houseplants, as you can see in my Zoom meeting, Summers, but, and get present to what you have, be grateful for what you have. Don't focus on what you don't have, and don't focus on what you're not getting, right? Don't focus on what you're owed. Taking stock of the now and what you do have is a way of feeling fulfilled as opposed to feeling lack, right? And especially if you have that kind of sense of entitlement, or that just leads to grievance and not peace.
I think that one in particular really speaks to interpersonal relationships as well. Focusing on what you do have in the relationship, what is good in the relationship, not only what you wish you had or what you feel like you should be getting, more different.
Because you know why? It really keeps you from being in a victimized point of view. If you're just focused on what somebody else isn't giving you, you're a victim in that situation. Instead of just feeling content and fulfilled with what you have and grateful for it, it's just a much nicer place to be in your own body, right?
Exactly.
And however you can, finding ways to develop and maintain connections, if that means making a phone call or just smiling to your partner, giving them a smile and a hug. I forget to do this a lot of times. I'm stuck inside with my husband and hugging him. I forget to do it sometimes. But when I do, I feel so much immediately. I feel more like myself. And the final step here is building recovery into your day every day and focusing on healing and just compassion for yourself. Hey, it's tough. And so just think about what we can do to just relax and be here and do things that bring us joy. So whatever that is.
One little thing I do for sort of physical recovery, and I have not taken great care of my body over the last few months, but is just roll my neck and roll my shoulders 30 times, right? You roll your shoulders forward 30 times and roll them back, and then roll your head gently in circles. And it's just this very teeny tiny recovery practice to just loosen up just a little bit while you're breathing. That's my tip, because that is, if it's the tiniest thing I can do for myself every day, then at least I am doing that. But I love this article. And as I said, I didn't feel centered. And then I read this article and found myself kind of gently returning to peace and gratitude for this amazing place that we live and this amazing world that we have.
And this amazing country that we have, which I think ties into our second story. And Summers, do you want to take the lead on this one?
I'll take the lead on this one. This one certainly was poignant for me. This one reads, huge U.S. rail trail project will allow cyclists to bike coast to coast. Now, bikes obviously have had a breakthrough as far as transportation during the lockdown, ways of staying healthy. And it has really encouraged a lot of cities to integrate safe cycling and walking routes just to keep people moving and keep people outside. But it's not just cities that are making an effort to create more bike lanes. There is something called the Great American Rail Trail, which is basically the ambitious project to create a path that stretches almost 6,000 kilometers across 12 states, enabling cyclists, hikers, and riders to traverse the entire U.S. from Washington State to Washington, D.C. This began in kind of May of 2019 and has raised a lot of money in public and private funds. And basically, the infrastructure will serve 50 million people within 80 kilometers of the trail. What I love about this story is the idea of traversing cross country, which perhaps you guys can hear the beeping in the background as another RV pulls into the park. But, really loving this beautiful country that we have and taking time to be outdoors, taking time to be physical, and really honoring this beautiful, diverse, and expansive place that those of us, if you're, a member of our U.S. audience listening, that we get to call home. And even though there are really, really dark things happening in our country, there are also really beautiful things. And it is a beautiful country that it is an honor to protect and care for. And, I love the idea of hopping on a bike and riding cross country. And I think I will put that in my to-do list when my daughter's about 15 and can join me, maybe. So in a few years, right after we all go climb Kilimanjaro together.
You don't want to put her on the back of your bike in a little.
I mean, I guess I could put her in a burly, but I feel like maybe she's been pretty good on the drive so far, so maybe she would be fine with 30 days in a burly. But I just feel like that might not be great parenting. So anyway, this was a great story on the Optimist Daily today. There were some other ones that really helped lift and center me while I was gone. Kristy, what are some other headlines that we've got?
Well, there's a plant-based shrimp that feels and tastes like the real thing. Again, another new wave in the protein of the future. For those who want to ride across America but are afraid of hills, there's a device that you can use to turn your regular bike into an e-bike. It's just a clever attachment. Check that out. It's a new startup. There's some lightweight drones that are being made from old pineapple leaves, another way of repurposing what would otherwise be just trash, making it useful.
So we've got some great stories in the personal care area, which I actually love. A refillable deodorant from Dove avoids single-use plastic packaging. There is a portable cleaner that makes menstrual cups convenient and even more sustainable. You guys may remember our conversation with the Viv for Your V founders, and menstrual cups are really, really a valuable tool for worldwide period management and period poverty. And this idea of having a portable cleaner, I think, would be fantastic, especially for road trips across the country. The Boston Red Sox hired their first Black woman to coach in Major League Baseball history, which is extraordinary. Ooh, Kristy, next one. That's probably your favorite.
Well, yes, EVs greatly outsold gas-powered cars in Norway last year. In fact, the overall auto industry was really down in 2020. But in Norway, they actually sold more electric vehicles than they sold any other kind of car this last year. There was a big surge in electric car ownership. So that was kind of a good movement towards the electrification of our transportation system. And finally, there's an article about a new way of desalinating, removing salt water. Some researchers have solved a key desalination efficiency mystery. So that is it for today's Optimist Daily update. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. And Summers, it's great to have you back. And I'm glad you're in a good place to record, even if you're having the RV experience. I love it.
Well, it's funny because, I haven't been able to get on the park's Wi-Fi, so I am on my phone, but my phone has unbelievable service here in Texas. It has better service here than it does at my house. So, you guys know, nobody ever calls me. Everyone always messages me because I have terrible phone service. But here I'm like 5G fast flying through, and I don't know, Amelia will probably adjust the sound quality so I sound not like I'm on a phone. But I think even that sounds pretty good.
But the good thing is it might be a blessing that you're offline a little bit, Summers, because it's good to have a little break. Anyway, thank you so much, everybody, for listening. We promise to continue to share positive, solution-based stories with ideas on how you can participate in this changing world and ensure it is changed for the good. If you aren't already, please consider becoming an emissary in the Optimist Daily, and for just $5 a month, you can support reader-funded independent journalism. Be a part of the solution-changing consciousness that addresses our world's biggest challenges with a problem-solving mind. Help us keep the Optimist Daily free for all who need it, supported by those who can.
Bye, everybody. Thank you for listening, and we will talk to you on Monday. Have a great weekend. Take care of yourselves.